Wall Street Memes Casino,
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.
This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFLTV. Delighted on this brisk Tuesday evening by Gareth A.Davies. Gareth, how are you, first of all?
Rock and roll. Shame about England. Were you in Berlin or not?
I wasn't, no, but I was obviously watching it, and no major tournament win for England for 58 years now and counting.
Yeah, it was in boxing parlance, I think they lost 116, 112, 8 rounds to 4. They gave it their all in about the 8th or 9th round and managed to equalise. Cole Palmer, who I thought was brilliant during the event, during the tournament, they just didn't have the magic that Spain had in the end. And as we've seen today, Gareth Southgate has called it a day after 8 years. And they're a great little team, and they will go on to do, not little team, but they're a great group of players, and they'll probably go on to do greater things. They just need to probably fight or play in a different way. But I do think in boxing terms, they lost handily on points.
That's a good analogy. It felt like England were riding their luck all the way through the tournament, and
I thought they were very strong and very, very solid.
They did ride their luck.
Moments of brilliance, but they didn't have the 1 or 2 players. It's the difference between world level and elite level that we talk about in boxing. You can be a world champion, but to be elite level, to be in the top 10 pound for pound, which any team that wins the Euros is in the top 10 pound for pound in the world. I'm using all these, as you say, analogies from boxing, but they just didn't have that Crawford factor, that Inouye factor, the Usyk factor, the Fury factor, the Tank Davis factor, and they just need to release the players to be able to do what they do best.
Okay, well, listen, we're on to the road to the World Cup now, so that's all in the past. So roll on 2026. Gareth, there's a huge couple of months of boxing obviously coming up. And I spoke to Frank Warren yesterday, and one thing I've noticed speaking to people in boxing regarding the Aj-Dubois fight coming up in September, do you think people are being a little bit too dismissive of Daniel Dubois?
No, I don't. I don't know what they've been saying, but my feeling is that this is Anthony Joshua's fight to lose. I'm not dismissive of Daniel Dubois. I've talked at length about how he's improved from his defeat to Alexander Usyk, what he learned from that, what he did against Jarrell Miller, what he put in, the shift he put in that night and transformed himself, came through a difficult period in the fight, ditto in the fight against Filip Hrgović, and rolled all the things he'd learned into that decisive victory to become the interim or the mandatory for the IBF, the interim champion, and now obviously the full champion with Alexander Usyk having relinquished the belt. But I think Joshua inhabits a different level. I'm not saying that Daniel Dubois can't knock him out or stop him. I don't think this goes 12 rounds. One of these two is getting stopped. And from my position and my standpoint and where Anthony Joshua is right now and who he has behind him in Ben Davison and Lee Wiley as strategists, and how he's looked recently and how he sounds and how he dealt with Daniel Dubois on that press conference day we were all at Wembley, I just think he's got the upper hand. And I see Joshua winning inside 7 rounds. I'm not saying that Daniel Dubois won't or can't knock him out. They're both very explosive fighters, but I just think Joshua may well find the target.
I mean, obviously the added incentive is that where Daniel Dubois, was elevated to the full IBF champion. Obviously, this is for the IBF title. Joshua's attempting to become a 3-time world heavyweight champion. I mean, this fight now is like obviously off the back of Dubois' 2 wins, especially against Miller and Hrgović. This fight now is say a credible fight, but now it's like there's intrigue around this fight.
Yeah, there is intrigue around it, but also what we've got in the heavyweight division over the last 10 months, such a transformation. Look at a week Saturday, Joe Joyce and Derek Chisora fight each other. a year and a bit ago, we were talking about how Joe Joyce was brilliant, and we were salivating at the thought of him facing Deontay Wilder. He'd knocked out Joseph Parker. He battered Daniel Dubois by jabbing his eye and making him genuflect onto a knee and surrender in that fight. Not quit, but live to fight another day. And I don't care what other people say, but look what Daniel's done. The transformation for fighters is extraordinary at the moment, particularly in the heavyweight division, because of the investment of the Saudi Arabians, His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh, how the division's been thrown up like a group of herded cats and then just landing on their feet. And if people perform at the moment, you love that analogy, look at your face. The way people perform at the moment, you only need to have 2 great performances and you're right back up there again. That is what has happened for Anthony Joshua. That's what's happened for Daniel Dubois. So they're the right men in the right place to take advantage of that IBF belt becoming vacant for the simple reason that they want an undisputed title at some point next year, potentially between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, if that happens. I like the way Tyson Fury's talking about his fight with Alexander Usyk. I like the fact he's not on social media all the time. I like the fact he popped up to give the England boys a good luck message. Get up, come on, you lads, all of that kind of stuff. I like the way he's talking about his second fight with Alexander Usyk. I don't agree with everything he says, but I like the way he's talking about that fight, that he believes he can go into this second iteration, this second encounter, and take it away from Alexander Usyk. Because we all want to see, we don't want to see Usyk beaten necessarily, but we all want to see Fury against Joshua. I'd hate it, KUGAN, for Anthony Joshua to finish this era and not fight Deontay Wilder and not fight Tyson Fury. Just doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, you mentioned Wilder there. What you think Wilder is still in the mix? We don't know what's going on with Wilder, to be honest.
Anthony Joshua still wants to fight Deontay Wilder, but I don't think that is a big viable fight anymore. If Wilder wants to step in the ring with Anthony Joshua, I think he blows him away. I don't think Wilder is what he was. And I say that having watched him for years and years and years. He cannot pull the trigger anymore. Zhili Zhang battered him the last time we were together in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and he just looked a shell. He looked a haunted figure in the ring.
Every 6 or 7 months, Gareth, and we've done this for the last 3 or 4 years, we always try and work out the path to that fight that we crave between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. And we always say, right, well, if he was to win that fight and he wins that fight, we could see them facing. I mean, we're in this situation again where, again, we're talking about it. I'm guilty of this as well, that we say, you know, if Joshua was to beat Dubois and Fury was to win that rematch, then we see a way of that happening. But we are kind of getting to the end of this happening. If it doesn't happen in this situation, then it's unlikely that it will ever happen.
Yeah, it's the tipping point right now. That these guys were talking about Deontay Wilder, if he fights again, Anthony Joshua, Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury, probably have only got 2 fights left each, 2 or 3 fights max. They're earning extraordinary amounts of money, truckloads of gold, if you like, at the moment. The Saudi Arabian investment has made sure that these guys are going to be extraordinarily wealthy fighters soon, ex-fighters and businessmen. We are coming to the crowning edge, the crowning glory of this era. We're 2 fights away from Fury and Joshua fighting each other. Again, yeah. Well, we were very, very close to them fighting, you know, before Deontay Wilder won his court of arbitration case in the States, with the judge ruling that he had the right for a trilogy fight with Anthony Joshua, with Tyson Fury. We were literally a couple of months from that fight happening. It was about to be signed, if you recall, a 2-fight deal. Joshua needs to win against Daniel Dubois on September the 21st. I think he will. I think Tyson Fury's got a very hard fight against Alexander Usyk. I make him marginal favourite in that fight because of what happened in the first fight. It's going to be an extraordinarily close fight again, in my view. Fury will put it on him more this time. He'll take more risks. It's going to be a battle, a seesawing battle of who can control the pattern of the fight again. And it's going to be, I cannot wait for it, to be honest. I mean, I want Fury to win because I want to see Fury and Joshua fight. I want Joshua to win because I want to see Joshua and Fury. Maybe if they both lose, by the way, they can fight anyway, and we'll get Usyk against Dubois in a second encounter for all the belts. But I'd love to see Joshua and Fury fight for the undisputed title in April, May next year. It'd be brilliant, and everyone would love it.
What does he have to do? What does Tyson have to do to make sure there isn't a repeat of what happened? Tyson still thinks he did enough to win that fight, but
hours after it, sitting in the Crown Plaza Hotel, having been in the Hilton, not sleeping till 10 in the morning, being up all night. You know what it's like those nights when you cover those events in Saudi. You don't get away from the arena till 4 a.m. Then you get the bus, then you work through, then you interview more people, then you do the press conference, then you do more work. I can remember distinctly thinking and writing, in my honest opinion, that I don't want to take anything away from what Alexander Usyk accomplished in that fight, but I remember, you weren't far away from me on the night either, sitting along press row going, Fury's going to stop him in a minute. 6-7 rounds in, he looked like he had the measure of Usyk. This time, forget any showboating, keep the poker face, keep going, keep putting it on him. Don't let Usyk change the pattern of the fight. Put it on him and beat him up properly. He's an older man. He's been through a lot. Fury's the bigger man. He knows what he needs to do. He's been in there once. It was a razor-tight close fight, in my view. It was a split decision on the judges' cards. I scored it 114, 113 to Usyk. I thought Fury won the first. Sorry, Usyk won the first. Fury won the next five, I think. I think Usyk turned it around in the 8th, won a 10-8 in the 9th, I thought Usyk won the first round, Fury won the next 5 or 6, I think, and looked dominant and looked like he was going to stop Usyk. Obviously, Usyk turned the fight around in the 8th, won a 10-8 in the 9th. I think won the 10th and the 11th, and I gave Fury the 12th. It commuted to 114, 113 to Usyk on my cards, and I wasn't counting as I went along. I wasn't totting up. I was doing a live scorecard for the Telegraph newspaper at the time, and they told me what I'd scored it as. It's going to be a very close fight second time around. I don't think either man's going to stop the other, but Fury needs to get ahead, be dominant, maybe not in the first round, but needs to do what he did in those middle rounds and just keep it going. He got too comfortable in there. I remember distinctly writing that. He got too comfortable. You could see him get too comfortable in there, taking nothing away from what Usyk did in terms of changing the pattern of the fight, how his stickability, his self-belief, his skill set, his movement, his dancing, what the cat does best. But Fury needs to be the Gypsy King and reign majestic in the second fight.
Something I spoke to Shane Fury about a couple of weeks ago, about how the dynamic of the corner will change.
It's a great interview, that, by the way.
Thank
and
you.
what I loved about that interview with Shane was you got absolute. And Shane is an honest guy. We both know him well. I loved his honesty, where he admitted things that weren't right, and that there's too many people talking in the corner. He wasn't talking his father down, but he was saying that we need to make sure who's speaking when, what, and why, and how in that minute between rounds. But I think the Fury won the last round for me anyway. So at that point, I think, because people always complain about the 3 voices that were there at the end of the 11th round. But I just think Fury loves his father, John, around anyway. He loves his father, John. John is part of his team. They'll streamline it. I don't think he should change Andy Lee and Sugar Hill. I think he should keep those guys. They've worked for him so far. He lost a razor-tight decision, a split points decision. That's how close it was. And look how brilliantly he came back in the 10th round after he looked like a skyscraper toppling for half of that round as well. And it was unbelievable. It was an incredible night, an incredible fight, befitting of the first undisputed heavyweight title for a quarter of a century.
Okay, Gareth, look, I know this isn't one of our normal long ones, so I just want to touch on a couple of things going on before
My dinner's ready, yes.
Okay. Eubank, Canelo, what do you know about that? Obviously, we've heard reports that that fight is a strong possibility for September.
It makes a lot of sense to me. Makes a lot of sense if Canelo is waiting for Terence Crawford to defeat Israel Madrimov, if he does on August the 3rd in Los Angeles. You've been at secret briefings with me where I can reveal that there are talks in the background going on I don't think I think it's an open secret. There are talks going on to try and get Terence Crawford and Canelo in a ring together. Chris Eubank Jr. is the perfect dance partner for Canelo on the way to that fight next year, wherever it be, whether it be in Saudi, in the United States, in Las Vegas, or wherever it's going to be between Crawford and Canelo. And it makes sense now why Chris Eubank Jr., who I'm a huge fan of, who's a big star for me, the 9th British fighter that Canelo will have fought. Yeah, I think that fight will happen. I don't think it's made yet, but there's definitely tentative talks going on, and it makes sense as to why he walked away from the from Nissa and Kala Sauerland and the Wasserman deal and produced an associated deal where I imagine he's going to have promotional rights with Boxer and Sky, because again, it's a Sky box office event.
Did you see the viral video that surfaced of our friend Derek Chisora?
Yeah, I can't condone it. It did upset me. I don't like to see Derek headbutting anyone. You know, we're very good friends with Derek. It was a Deliveroo driver. I only saw that small clip where they were at loggerheads. Derek's given his reasons. I can't condone that because
it did look like he was
Derek,
provoked. I'm not condoning it, but it did look like he was being provoked in that situation. Just from
but it doesn't matter. Look, Derek's a giant human being who knows how to fight, and he dropped the nut on him. And as soon as that happened, the Deliveroo driver was done. You know what? Derek can be a very intimidating character. Yes, he was provoked. I just don't like to see it because I don't want to see Derek in trouble. I don't want to see him in trouble. I don't want to see him in those kind of scenarios because, you know, he's become a lovable cult figure in British boxing. And I just didn't like seeing it. I can't. That's my honest opinion. I didn't like seeing it.
Yeah, look, I wasn't making like any kind of reasons or excuses. I was just kind of pointing out what it looked like from the video. But the situation seems to be.
I don't know how it began. The video doesn't show how it began.
I'm sure we'll find out next week.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
Deliveroo drivers and Derek Chisora, it's not. I don't know. It saddened me. I'll be honest. It saddened me to see it. I'll get the full story from Derek, and you probably will when you speak to him.
We'll speak to him about it next week. Gareth, I know this is a little bit old out now. Obviously, this is something from about a week and a half ago. But what have you made of this situation with AJ and Carl Froch?
Well, I'm going to make this my last one because my dinner is getting cold and the bells are ringing on the other side of the estate here that I need to get across and get some food in me. And it's steak, chips, peas, carrots. It's a big one tonight. And you need to get to bed because it's way past your bedtime where you are.
Thank you.
Carl's being Carl. If those two are in a room together, they probably end up laughing and joking. But I like the attitude of Anthony Joshua at the moment. I like the way he was with Daniel Dubois, as I've said. I think he commanded the space when Daniel said, "Should we go now?" I love the way that Joshua stood up and said, "Let's do it now. Put a chair across you." I mean, obviously, he's not going to do that. But I liked how up for it he was. And I think it just causes a lot of intrigue. Carl's creating a lot of clickbait. He had a go at me the other day, and Frank, on one of his things. I haven't responded. There's nothing to say, really. It's just quite amusing.
What is that
Carl's being... No, he was just saying that that Frank and I don't criticize, Frank Warren and I don't criticize the Saudi atmosphere because we're in cahoots with the Saudis. No, we're not. As you know, when you're over there, the atmosphere is fine. It's very, very absorbing over there, and the fights are amazing, and the events have been extraordinary to be at. And maybe it just hasn't translated well on TV, but Carl said he's the only one talking honestly about the atmosphere in Saudi. Look, Carl's playing an amazing clickbait game at the moment, building his YouTube channel, being insensitive and strong and getting his following behind him, and it's great fun. And it's nothing more than that. He sent me a personal message the other day. I said, "Carl, why are you doing this?" He said, "Because I'm having great fun doing it." I don't think he's been really, really insulting about Anthony Joshua. And I like to see Anthony Joshua irked, because the angry Anthony Joshua is the one that delivers in the ring and delivers in training camp and delivers on the way to maybe becoming a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world.
On that note, Gareth A.Davies, thank you very much for talking to IFLTV. I shall probably catch up with you next week at Joyce and Chisora.
Indeed, I'll be at that for sure. I think we're there with Talk Sport.
Let me just get a quick little snap. There we go. Right, Gareth, we'll catch up then. Much appreciate your time.
Wall Street Memes Casino,
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.